The concept of Anthropocene reflects the realization that humanity is increasingly interfering with, interacting with, and impacting the long-term systems of the Earth. This has led to a new phase for our planet, which could be described as anthropization. As a species, we are experiencing a unique shift in our relationship with the Earth. During the Pleistocene epoch, when modern humans evolved, we were primarily hunters and gatherers who were passively exposed to the Earth's natural forces. In the Holocene epoch, humans began to engage in activities such as farming, building cities, mining, and fishing. We exploited the Earth's natural resources without fully considering the consequences of our actions. The Holocene was characterized by a human rebellion against the limits imposed by nature, and it proved to be a successful rebellion. However, in the emerging Anthropocene epoch, it appears that the future of Earth will be dominated by human activities unless we experience a global catastrophe, such as a meteorite impact, world war, or pandemic, as suggested by Paul Crutzen in his influential article, Geology of Mankind, published in Nature magazine. Moreover, the anthropogenic changes we are making to the Earth will have feedback effects on humanity and how we perceive the world. We are currently witnessing a human bottleneck on Earth, where nearly all parts of the planet's surface, large sections of the oceans, and even substantial portions of its crust are being affected by human actions. These actions are altering crucial geological, biological, and chemical aspects of the Earth's composition and character. Consequently, we have entered a phase that can be referred to as neurogeology, where the mental states and resulting actions of individuals, groups, and the collective consciousness of humanity as a whole are shaping a new mode of planetary development. This development combines human infrastructure and technology with novel ecosystems, increased chemical and geological diversity, a modified climate, and the emergence of entirely new life forms. The power of neurogeological influence extends even to individuals, as exemplified by figures like Thomas Midgley. His invention of CFC cooling substances had a profound impact on the atmosphere, contributing to the depletion of the ozone layer, which had developed over billions of years through photosynthesis. As environmental historian John McNeill highlighted, Midgley's actions made him more influential in shaping the atmosphere than any other organism in Earth's history. Similarly, Fritz Haber's work on converting atmospheric nitrogen into fertilizer revolutionized food production, leading to increased human population growth and altering the chemical composition of soils and oceans. In the Anthropocene, human actions and inaction will strongly shape the future fossil record and the long-term composition of the biological world. Geologist Jan Zalasiewicz drew attention to the fact that there are at least 100,000 domesticated cats for every wild tiger, suggesting that in the distant future, new species of wild felines could potentially evolve from today's house cats. The selective breeding and preferences of early Anthropocene pet owners could result in the creation of neo-wild species, leaving their fossil remains for future discovery. The neurogeological nature of the Anthropocene challenges traditional perspectives, as it emphasizes the profound influence of human actions. By connecting the ephemeral processes of human thought with the enduring forces of geology, this challenges our intuition and the long-held concept of a dualism between nature and culture. However, scientists have been hesitant to fully embrace this new reality. As pointed out by Emma Maris in her book Rambunctious Garden, 75% of biological research stations are concentrated in only 25% of the land surface, specifically in areas with minimal human impact. Man-made landscapes are often considered disturbed and are avoided by many biologists, reflecting a somewhat misanthropic notion. Similarly, mineralogists have been reluctant to study and classify man-made crystals, such as those found in ballpoint pens. Nevertheless, if we open our scientific and personal perspectives to the challenges of the Anthropocene, we will find that the world is already brimming with neurogeological phenomena, as highlighted by Zalasiewicz and others in their research. The concept of the Anthropocene presents a unified continuum that spans from stones to human thought, bridging the divide between concrete and enduring phenomena and abstract and fleeting ones. This dissolution of the artificial dichotomy between nature and culture paves the way for a symbiotic development between civilization and the multitude of other species on Earth. Beyond dualism, a world of neurogeological and biocultural amalgamations, hybrids, emulsions, and fusions awaits our exploration, description, and experience. For those who remain skeptical about the concept of the Anthropocene, it is important to note that it is just one scientific hypothesis among many. The claim that human collective action is significant enough to leave a geological imprint is currently being tested by scientists and will continue to be evaluated over the coming millennia. A working group under the International Commission on Stratigraphy has been established to conduct the necessary research, with a first scientific assessment expected in 2017. However, future geologists in the years 2700-27,000, or even 270,000, will continue to assess humanity's geological impact and determine whether it warrants the designation of a new epoch. This ongoing evaluation will involve a series of judgments and classifications. From a purely scientific and analytical perspective, the Anthropocene concept does not inherently carry any normative, ethical, or philosophical implications. Its primary criterion is whether it is possible to identify a golden spike, a distinct and measurable signal of human presence in the geological record that endures over an extremely long time span. Thus, it is not the specific actions we take as individuals or as a society that matter in the scientific understanding of the Anthropocene. Whether we all become carbon-neutral vegans or continue to burn fossil fuels, the decisive factor is the long-term geological impact of our presence on Earth. In fact, one could argue that significant changes such as runaway climate change or widespread species extinctions would make it easier for future geologists to differentiate the Anthropocene from the Holocene. However, such an approach would be cynical and is not the prevailing view. Fortunately, the Anthropocene concept holds a larger and deeper meaning beyond its purely scientific framework, which is why it has attracted significant attention and sparked debates. Its value lies in its capacity as an introspective and interactive tool, providing a framework to think about our relationship with the Earth, both individually and collectively. Phenomenologically, it represents a progression from regional and short-term environmental changes to global and long-term transformations caused by human activities. Ontologically, it signifies the expansion of our environmental consciousness from local concerns to a planetary scale, and our scientific understanding from isolated experiments to the behavior of global biogeochemical systems. Temporally, It extends our perspective from the short now of individual lifetimes to the effects of our actions on future centuries, millennia, and millions of years. One powerful metaphorical message arising from the Anthropocene concept is that it affirms humans' rightful place on Earth and our deep connection to Earth's history. Initially, people may perceive the Anthropocene as a summary of all environmental problems, a representation of everything that has gone wrong, and the alienation of humans from the natural world. However, upon closer examination, the Anthropocene idea does the opposite. It firmly establishes the link between humans and our surroundings, integrating us into what was once considered the natural world. We begin to recognize the interconnectedness between natural phenomena and human creations, such as the limestone formed by past organisms that we use in our cities, or the ores produced by ancient bacteria that we utilize in constructing machines and skyscrapers. Moreover, we acknowledge the presence of the human made within the natural world when we appreciate the biodiversity brought about by cultivating plants, animals, and bacteria, and when we observe how man-made materials become part of the biomaterial cycle through decomposition. A future science of neurogeology can delve into how we will confront our existence within the nature of the future and the effects it will have on us. It is true that human actions will shape nature in ways that can have frightening real-world consequences, such as the intensification of superstorms due to anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, or the contamination of ecosystems from the accumulation of toxic waste. Even orchids deep in the rainforest will bear the imprint of human activity as they grow using carbon atoms that have already passed through coal-fired power plants. However, alongside these concerning outcomes, there are also opportunities for more positive developments, such as increased knowledge gained from long-term remote sensing and global monitoring. This could lead to an expansion of our global consciousness and a deeper introspective understanding of our interconnectedness with the dynamic changes in climate and biological systems. Despite these possibilities, it is understandable and healthy that there is skepticism surrounding the validity and usefulness of the Anthropocene concept. Premature acceptance of the Anthropocene, either without proper scientific assessment or simply because it is a new and trendy term, would not be beneficial for its long-term development. It is crucial that the Anthropocene idea is founded on solid scientific grounding and incorporates contributions from diverse perspectives. There is room for multiple viewpoints. Old-school geologists, or at least their stereotypical representatives, might be wary of the Anthropocene theory, perceiving it as disregarding the retrospective and deep-time nature of traditional stratigraphic classification systems. Biologists, too, might feel uneasy about what appears to be an excessive focus on human actions within the broader flow of matter and genetic information on Earth. Scholars from the humanities might interpret it as a potentially dangerous attempt to establish a naturalistic world order that extends technocratic concepts of Western-style progress. Ethicists could question whether experts in stones and soils are now seeking to study and set human social norms, encroaching upon disciplines and institutions traditionally responsible for such matters. Historians might see it as encroaching upon their domain, as human history suddenly becomes absorbed into the larger narrative of Earth's history, with its own distinct mechanisms and contexts. Indigenous communities may feel that their unique perspective on humans and nature is being overtaken by a universalistic concept created by predominantly white, male natural scientists from Western cities, which dismisses all other viewpoints as pre-Anthropocene, implying they are outdated or primitive. Traditional environmentalists might view the Anthropocene idea as an attempt to justify and rationalize industrial destruction through pseudo-harmonic rhetoric. Those who believe in a superior creator, often referred to as God, might be dismayed by the hubris associated with human efforts to engineer the Earth, as perceived when the Anthropocene and anthropocentrism are considered as one. From this standpoint, the Anthropocene might be seen as a reenactment of the Tower of Babel story. Lastly, politicians may find the Anthropocene challenging because it introduces a long-term temporal pattern that is difficult to reconcile with the shorter-term rhythms of Western democracies, typically characterized by 4 or 5 year cycles. Conversely, the Anthropocene concept may prove to be a valuable and inspiring tool for the same mix of individuals mentioned above, allowing them to reconsider, develop, or modernize their ingrained perceptions. Old-school geologists, or their stereotypical representatives, have an opportunity to reevaluate the criteria upon which their discipline is based and expand their understanding of whether Earth's history has entered a new phase, with different rules that warrant new criteria. Biologists can explore and research emerging biocultural entities that combine the molecular and cultural realms, which have received limited study thus far, but are concealed within the continuum from soil to thought. Scholars in the humanities can consider extending their interpretational power into the realm of organic material. Ethicists can examine the novelty of a world where man-made causes and effects exist within the natural order, and explore whether these phenomena require the establishment of new principles for coexistence. Historians can use the Anthropocene concept as a lens to re-examine past events in terms of their relevance to the emerging world, and as an empty signifier for both the future of history and the history of the future. Indigenous communities can rightfully claim a place in the Anthropocene pluriverse, where their values and ideas are acknowledged as contemporary rather than antiquated. Environmentalists can employ the concept to move beyond shifting reference points in the past, depart from the nostalgic sentiments of 19th century eco-strategies, break free from the doomsday forecasts of an apocalyptic future, and transcend the tragic narrative of environmentalism. All of this empowers us to shape and frame the future, instead of clinging to an idealized past. Christian believers or scholars can use the Anthropocene as a metaphor for a time when the biblical mission of subduing the earth is nearing completion, prompting questions about what comes next. Similarly, politicians can utilize the concept as a tool to challenge and potentially overcome the egotism of the present that characterizes many policies, ranging from financial regulation to pension schemes to environmental management. Developing the Anthropocene idea does not have to follow a linear or elitist process, where a body of canonical texts emerges, and a small group of specialized scholars defines what this age of humans entails, and what it does not. On the contrary, the Anthropocene is an inclusive platform open to anyone who wishes to engage in debate and reflection. It is a privilege for all of humanity that the Anthropocene is evolving as a process that reflects about itself. Jürgen Wren. Therefore, the global rollout of this idea should be a democratic and open-source endeavor that is continually revised and adapted. The future of Earth, shaped by neurogeological dynamics, will inevitably be influenced by the collective mental states of all its inhabitants, encompassing a wide range of desires, motivations, and attitudes, including existential needs, greed, egotism, common dreams, malevolent intentions, beautiful aspirations, short-sightedness, as well as prescient and attentive attitudes. However, it will be challenging to find a way to invite all humans into the Anthropocene arena and foster their awareness as conscious members of a global polis. The rapid urbanization and expansion of the invisible city, comprising extensive farming, mining, and fossil fuel extraction infrastructure, necessary to sustain urban life, make achieving this polis an essential but difficult endeavor. In this context, it is crucial to focus on the first part of the word Anthropocene. While the concept may initially appear grand and all-encompassing, it also allows us to connect individual everyday lives to global transformations. Every human being can be seen and can see themselves as a protagonist in the Anthropocene. When Australian zoologist Tim Flannery describes humanity as a mammalian superorganism in his book, Here on Earth, he does not equate humans to pre-programmed ants. Instead, this superorganism comprises billions of individuals, each with tremendous emotional, creative, and intellectual potential, when provided with the right conditions for its development. Entering the Anthropocene signifies entering a phase where human intentionality permeates the planet. In the past, CO2 emissions were an unconscious collective process, but now, thanks to the reports of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, we are aware of the consequences of our actions. Climate models will increasingly provide clarity on the effects of personal and collective emissions. Soon, ignorance will no longer serve as an excuse. This awareness creates a new imperative to move from unintentional actions to intentional interactions with the planet. As Julia Pongratz of the Max Planck Institute for Meteorology noted, we must transition from behaving like a bull in a china shop to curating the planet as a collection of priceless artworks. This task is challenging because many of the changes we make have long-term impacts that are difficult to assess. For instance, climate change threatens future generations, but may prevent another ice age in the long run. Biotechnology, while currently monopolized by problematic companies, also offers possibilities for enriching the planet with man-made biodiversity. We are shifting from a focus on the short now to a consideration of the long now. This shift challenges political institutions to develop forms of representation for non-human agents and the interests of future inhabitants of the Earth. The debate on expanding democracy to include these aspects has only just begun. Considering the average lifespan of 10 million years for a given species on Earth, humans are relatively new arrivals. The Anthropocene is a fleeting moment on the geological timescale, presenting an open opportunity to not only fill the world with sensors, but also with a sense of purpose. It reveals the deep interconnections between the geosphere, biosphere, and emerging noosphere. Future neurogeologists will develop new terms to describe the patterns and mechanisms of this process. Importantly, modern life does not separate humans from nature. Rather, our increasing interference with resources and ecosystems brings us closer to natural phenomena and deeper into the new nature that arises through our actions. As urban dwellers, when we recognize past living organisms in the products that surround us, contemplate the hidden mountains within our smartphones' components, and become aware of the monumental effects of the past 200 years of modern life on our world, we may begin to question our current priorities, our sense of time and place, our attitude towards co-inhabitants of Earth, and our material communication with future generations. By seeing ourselves as primordial humans of the future rather than masters of the planet, we can escape hubris and cultivate humility. Unlike previous epic names, the Anthropocene holds significance for everyone and impacts everyday lives. It is an epoch that belongs to and concerns all of humanity, which grants it tremendous inspirational power.